Hi guys, I'm here to give you another awesome math lesson. So far, we've been learning about equal parts. We've learned about halves, and we've also talked a little bit about fourths. What we've learned about halves is that one, and this is gonna go for the same thing with our fourths, is that we always start with a whole. A whole is a shape that is not cut into any pieces, but can be cut into equal parts. Now, what are equal parts? Let's refresh our brain. Equal parts, let's start with our halves. Equal parts are parts that are the same size and the same shape. If they are not the same size and they're not the same shape, and I decided to just go whoop, we no longer have equal parts because these are not all the same size anymore. They're only called equal parts when they're the same size and same shape. So here, what you learned yesterday, I have two equal parts and these are two halves, just like if I cut a cookie in half and gave someone else a cookie. Now today, I'm going to go one step further and talk about our fourths. Now, our fourths can also be called quarters. Just like you have, I need 4 quarters, 1, 2, 3, 4, to make up a whole circle. That's the same thing, just like a dollar. So, with our 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters, we could say it like that, or we could say 1, 2, 3, 4 fourths. Think of the number 4. 4 equal pieces, 4 fourths, 4 quarters, make a whole dollar. That's what we have to keep remembering whenever we're talking about anything that's split into 4 parts. Now, I want to go a little step farther today and start shading in some pieces, but before we get there, I want to do my number 1 and 2 and see if you can decide which one is equal and which one is not. Number 1 or number 2? Which one is 4 equal parts? Which one has 4 fourths or 4 quarters? If you said number 1, you're right.
That one had 4 equal parts and the other one did not.
Number 1 or number 2? Which one has 4 equal parts? Which one has 4 fourths or 4 quarters that have all the same shape and all the same size? Again, number 1 is the lucky winner. The reason why this is not, even though there's 1, 2, 3, oh, and there's only 3. I should have drew my line down more. So there we go. So the reason why this one is not equal, or we can't say that they're 4 quarters, is because they're all different shapes and they're not the same size. If this was a piece of cake, I wouldn't split it up like that. Okay, so now what I did was I drew a circle, I split it into 4 fourths, or we can say 4 quarters. They're all equal parts, and I decided to shade some parts in now. So what I would say to talk about this is first think, how many shaded areas are there? 1. And how many equal parts are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So altogether, I would say 1 of the 4 parts are shaded in. So let me write that on the bottom. 1 of the 4 parts, and they're equal parts, we know that, are shaded in. How about now? I look at my circle, I count and see how many are colored in. 1, 2. So now I can say 2 of my 4 parts, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, are shaded in. Let's do one more example. There are now 1, 2, 3 parts shaded in. So I would change this and I would say 3 of the 4 parts are shaded in. And you can do this with any of your shapes. It can be a square, rectangle. Let's do a rectangle example. I'm first going to create my equal parts. I have my 4 equal parts, my 4 quarters or 4 fourths, and I'm just going to shade in a couple. How many parts did I shade in? 2, yes. So I would say 2 of my 1, 2, 3, 4 parts are shaded in. Okay, so just to wrap up and just refresh our memory about what we've done, we know that there's equal parts. Equal parts means they are the same size and same shape. We first started off with halves when we cut things in half in different directions, and we get 2 equal parts or 2 halves. Today we took it one step further and cut it into 4 equal parts. 4 equal parts can also be worded as 4 quarters or 4 fourths. Then our last thing we went over was when we actually shade in some of our parts. We always count the shaded parts first and then say how many parts are there all together. So if I shade in one part, I would say there's 1 of the 4 parts that are shaded in. All right, so now you're gonna go to your Google form, complete that, and you'll have more practice with that today. Bye, guys.